they talked about the Lightning potentially trading for an Oliver Wahlstrom. So that makes sense, right? Because we have talked about Walstrom as an option to be traded away. We don't think there's really a fit here with the Islanders and like with the team. So just again, kind of just think it kind of makes sense for both sides to move on. But we were kind of like, well, who's going to take him? And in this scenario, the Lightning were the team that bit. So I said, okay, let me scroll down and see. And the return was a third round pick in 2026.
I don't like that one bit. Not one bit.
Okay, I would take it, and I said I would do it. I originally thought that it was a year out, so 2025. So no, that is 2 years out. So not this one. Well, I mean, when you look at it, like, isn't that what Pierre Engvall went for? Or was that a second round pick that was 2 years out?
I think it. Yeah, let's look that up. It might have been a third round pick for Pierre Engvall, a couple years out. I just want something more immediate than a pick. Is my issue when it comes to Oliver Wahlstrom. Like, I don't care about futures for Walstrom. I really don't. I want a player. Whether that's a prospect that is at the same level of development than Walstrom, maybe a year younger, someone who could, probably won't be insulted by playing at the AHL level type of thing. That's what I'm looking for. When I look at a third round pick, I'm thinking it's a dart 2 years from now for a guy who was a first round pick. And what I mean by that, not saying that he carries or should carry first round pick value. It's that we had hoped for more from him. We'd hoped that he'd be at some point an NHL player. And at this point, it's clear he won't be one for us. And so I want something with more immediacy than a third round pick in 2 years from now.
Okay. I hear you on that one. And by the way, can confirm it was at the 22 deadline. They traded for a 2024 third round. They traded a 2024 third round pick for Pierre Engvall. So it wasn't the 23 draft, it was the 24. So like this one isn't the 25 draft, it'd be 26. Essentially the same kind of trade. And to me, I don't think there's any debate that Pierre Engvall is a better player than Oliver Wahlstrom for all the flaws that Pierre Engvall, may have. Oliver Wahlstrom hasn't shown to play with any sort of consistency at the NHL level. 32 games this year, 35 games the year prior. We know there was the injury, but even in the 22 season where he played pretty much the entire season, 73 games, so he only missed 9, 24 points and 13 goals. Like, I don't really know what else you could expect. I guess, as you said, like a swap of an AHL kind of a player, but I'd almost rather take the picks in the future. Not saying that you could like use that pick and be like, oh, I can't wait to see insert 2026 third rounder here, but it's just more ammo to do other things with.
Yeah, you're right. It's more assets. It's more something to do something with, because right now Oliver Wahlstrom is doing nothing for us. Clearly, he's not garnering any sort of attention. If the writers of the world are picking a third rounder for him, and I know like we can't trust the valuation put forward by a random Tampa Bay writer, and that's fine. It's nothing against their valuation. That's what they feel Oliver Wahlstrom is worth. Whether that's right or not, it's just like I want more for Wahlstrom. I just. A third rounder, I feel, isn't going to do anything. But that's probably me not giving Oliver Wahlstrom the due, not Oliver Wahlstrom, but giving a third round pick the due credit it probably deserves. Like, I may be overvaluing Oliver Wahlstrom, right? As if I have cards to hold, right? It's like, I have the player you want. I deserve more. Well, that player I want, clearly I don't want, because we signed a bunch of players instead of him, or we will sign him, but like the spot is filled.
Exactly. Like I just, and we both said this a million times on, these episodes here, we just don't see a role for him on this team. So I'd rather, I'd take just about anything for him. And a third was, if we're talking about just draft pick value, and again, I get it, it's a year further out, but if you were trading Walstrom for a draft pick, I would have thought it would be later than a third round pick. Again, take the year out of it, but I would have thought fifth, something like that. And again, that sounds really rough when you have a guy who was a first round pick at one point, but he hasn't done anything in the league really 2 straight years. And again, I get it. There was the injury in 2023 and that really stinks. But this year when he played, it wasn't good enough. It was a guy who is an offense first player and has a very good shot who was unable to get enough shots on net, and his shooting percentage was 4.9% this year. That's just, I don't know how you find a spot for that guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So like the one thing he had going for him isn't really going for him. So you're right, there's no spot for him. Like when I keep looking, like I everyone who has video has probably seen, like, why is Mitch looking away from the goddamn camera? Matt is talking to him. Look at the person who's talking to you. I'm looking at other drafts to find players who I can hold my hand to and be like, or my hat to, I guess. That's the player I would swap for Walstrom. I remember Matty D brought up a while ago, like Philip Broberg. I thought that was perfect at the time. And then, of course, we see Broberg go off, not maybe not go off, but get minutes in the playoffs and look okay. And so you're saying, well, he's looking okay in the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't think Edmonton's going to swap him for Oliver Wahlstrom. And we've already seen Edmonton do some like prospect swapping, if you will. I think they might be out of the market in that regards. Although maybe not. Their roster isn't necessarily complete. If you go to Puckpedia, I want to say Cap Friendly, I think they're at 20 of 23 players on their roster. Now, maybe they've got some UFAs and RFAs that I'm not aware of or that I didn't actually click on to see. But they might have some spots that they can fill with Walstrom. And look, if you're just saying, go sit there, we're going to have McDavid or Draisaitl just feed you pucks. Okay, slap him in, baby. That's basically what Zach Hyman does, minus the slapping him in. He just stands in front of the net and bounces off him. That's all he does. It's not all he does, but I'm being reductive on purpose here. But anyways, I'm looking at these drafts, and like someone like William Wallander comes to mind. A guy drafted by the Detroit Red Wings in the second round, but very early second round in 2020. Has 15 points in 65 games for the Grand Rapids Griffins, which isn't much. Keep in mind he is a defenseman. But in his draft year, or his D+1 season at the SHL level, when he's like a 19-year-old, he's putting up 19 points in 47 games. That's a lot of production for a 19-year-old playing in a men's game. There's something there. And so maybe Detroit could be like, okay, well, we'll give you Oliver Wahlstrom, a kid who just wants to throw pucks on net, have him zip around. I'm using maybe a little facetiously here, with your young kids, and then have him slap pucks. And we'll take this defenseman who's maybe not ready to join the NHL right now, but could be very close if we develop him right. If you like that, make sure to subscribe to Up the Turnpike on Patreon for more exclusive New York Islanders content.